Hello, our chosen company is Cadbury. Cadbury was established in Birmingham, England, 1824 by John Cadbury. Today it's the second largest confectionery brand in the world after Wrigley's and operates in more than 50 countries worldwide.
Outsourcing is a practice used by different companies to reduce costs by transferring portions of work to outside suppliers rather than completing it internally. And now I will speak about where the raw materials of the Cadbury source from. 50% of Cadbury milk is from Stockley-Will farmers, and they operate in Wiltshire and Gloucestershire. Cocoa beans are from West Africa, Ghana, where they grow some of the best quality cocoa in the world, and this is fair trade source. Fair trade is when there is a trade between companies in developed countries and producers in developing countries, in which fair prices are paid to the producers. In the next step, cocoa beans are delivered by boats to Liverpool docks. From there, they are transported by lorry to chalk factory, and the cocoa mass is delivered to the Cadbury milk factory in Marbrook near Hereford to be processed. Finally, the sugar sourced from Tate and Lyle, which is a British sugar refining company. And now back to Oli, who will speak about the steps and movement.
Obviously, as Cadbury is such a massive company employing thousands of people and sourcing their products around the globe, their supply chain is very long, 23 steps to be precise. The supply chain starts in Ghana, where the beans are grown, picked and stored. From there they have to be shipped in large quantities all over the globe to Cadbury's manufacturing centres in Kirk and Melbrook, as Bourneville do not have the required equipment. This is where the raw materials are transformed into final goods to sell to the retailers. Once the cocoa beans have arrived, they must be sorted, cleaned and pasteurised. They are then pressed into cocoa liquor, which is then further processed into cocoa butter. Milk and sugar are added for taste and to create what is called a chocolate crumb. The chocolate is then tempered, hot and cold, and shaken to release air bubbles. From there, the chocolate is put into moulds and cooled in a conveyor belt a third of a mile long. This can be seen as technology used by Cadbury to stay ahead of their competitors, as it reduces the process time significantly. The chocolate is then taken from a cooling belt, immediately sealed to preserve flavour. The machine that does this can package 500 bars a minute. Again, it's another bit of technology used by Cadbury to stay ahead of their competitors. The final chocolate bar is then boxed up, loaded into vans and delivered to customers. Up next, Ross is going to talk to you about where the components are made from.
There are two main components in the Cadbury supply chain, the chocolate crumb and the packaging. Chocolate crumb comes from the Kirk and Marlborough factories on a just-in-time inventory management method because the goods are perishable. Packaging is outsourced from a specialised printing company, and because it isn't a perishable good, Cadbury can buy in bulk to maximise economies of scale. Next up we have Dom to explain how Cadbury measure their performance.
Tastes like good supply chain management.
Bazinga!
There are 5 key performance indicators that Cadbury monitor to measure supply chain performance. Cadbury aim to keep inventory levels at a minimum while still meeting maximum customer needs. They use a pull system rather than a push due to limited shelf life of perishable products. Cost reduction is one of the benchmarks of supply chain performance, but Cadbury's partnership with Fair Trade means that they make a trade-off between the lowest possible costs and keeping the process sustainable. The company always attempts to reduce absolute time throughout the process, be it through lead, cycle or delivery time. Transit time is particularly important for Cadbury due to the perishability of the products in transport. They also measure performance through the number of errors made in the supply chain. In 2010, 2 separate product supplies were delivered to the wrong factory address, causing a large lag time which created a ripple effect further down the line, as well as costing time, money and effort. The introduction of effective tracking of all individual products while in transport was brought in to monitor and eliminate such errors. Cadbury use a slight alternative to the score model, known as the Balanced Scorecard, which they introduced in 1998. The Balanced Scorecard recommends the use of executive information systems to track a limited number of balanced metrics that are closely aligned to strategic objectives. These are the financial perspective, which is the cost of manufacturing and warehousing. The customer perspective, which relates to on-time delivery and order fill rate. An internal business perspective For example, manufacturing adherence to plan and forecast errors. And finally, it measures the innovative and learning perspective, which can consist of new product development cycle times. Next up is Lewis, who will be talking about warehousing and inventory challenges of the supply chain.
With regards to issues with inventory, we found the main problems Cadbury's experiencing was that their products are liable to damage and shrinkage. This can be accidental small mistakes but still cause disruptions to the inventory. We also found that owning and manning of these storage facilities is another great expense, and for the products with limited shelf storage, this is a huge concern, especially how it's come to affect the quality of their product. The main problems in distribution is that sourcing from Ghana means long lead times from shipping and causes uncertainty. Cadbury's also discovered that transporting the cocoa beans by air compromised the beans' integrity and led to a decrease in the quality of the product. In terms of warehousing, we found the main problems was the cost it took to run and man these facilities, followed by the distance between the warehouses to the distribution centres, as this increases the lead times further. Cadbury's also have several challenges they have to face regarding their supply chain. Sourcing from Ghana is unreliable, which causes uncertainty. Another challenge faced by Cadbury's is that it is such a global company, delays from customs is not uncommon, as well as natural disasters, causing further problems in the supply chain. Now we have Elliot talking about the risks and sustainability issues.
More cocoa trees have been planted in Africa, with 1.3 million hectares being added between 2000 and 2012. But production, which relies on small producers using techniques that have not changed in hundreds of years, is still not good enough to meet demand. To coincide with World Water Day, Cadbury has announced a 17% reduction in water consumption since 2006 by increasing its efficiency of production, recovery, harvesting and recycling water. The company reported that by 2008, it met its target of implementing water reduction programs of 100% of water-scarce sites as part of its Purple Goes Green initiative launch in 2007.
We recommend that Cadbury moves to one site instead of 3 factories that they use. This will lower transportation costs and lower carbon emissions, making the company more sustainable in the eyes of the consumer. The second recommendation is that Cadbury may look at investing in its own firm so they can produce materials like milk to limit the stages in its supply chain and control it better and more efficiently. With less transportation, it limits damage to the materials. This links to the 5 performance objectives of Cadbury's, where they compete on quality. That's a wrap.